Anyways, I wanted to just quickly do a process check here on the series that I'm recording on a Venice Senior High School Parents Analysis of the 2020-2021 School Plan for Student Achievement. We are in Chapter 2. It's entitled Self-Deception. My first take on this took me 2.5 hours. So I've been trying to slim it down and I can't figure out how to slim it down all into one. And so I'm breaking it into sections, right? And so now we have section 1, which I spent just defining self-deception as it pertains to the work that we're doing here with the school site council and writing and managing the implementation of the SPSA. And in this section, section 2, I'm going to be giving you concrete examples of what self-deception looks like in the work that we do. But just to give you a full recap even of what's going to be presented here, this is what I mean by self-deception, right? So conducting a data analysis with less data than you have in the past to believe that that would yield a similar or better outcome, you're kidding yourself. Okay? Uh, 2, that working on a project like this with half a heart is still better than nothing. If you're gonna do something half-assed, don't do it at all. Okay? This is too serious of a subject, too serious of a project, that really every time we fail, we have just ripple effects of unintended consequences that have us in the state of affairs that we are in, as a society. So it's better, if you don't want to do this, step aside. Uh, it leads to inconsequential interventions. Uh, and so why do it, right? Next. Uh, let's see. Oh, to believe that somehow low expectations can yield big goals. I mean, can help fulfill or meet big goals, right? That's impossible. So if you don't have high expectations of yourself, then you probably won't have high expectations of anybody else. And then why think that it's worth, this is a lot of work. To do all this work, with low expectations, you might as well just step aside. Another piece of self-deception. To believe that the purpose of writing this school plan for student achievement is to write this school plan for student achievement. There's a greater purpose than just getting that plan done, submitting it, getting approved, getting the funding, and launching all these programs that are going to lead to more of the same. May even get in the way of natural improvement, right? And so, like, if the teachers didn't have to go to all this training or have conversations that are unnecessary, because I was a teacher, I know what it's like to be sucked into training, and you're like wondering, why is this person showing me how to teach when I can teach better than the person who's presenting? Alrighty, so just some craziness, just plain craziness. Uh, and that's while we're talking about that. So this is my synopsis on the purpose of writing a school plan for student achievement, which is 1, it's to assess the status of achievement at the school by grade level and by subgroup, the status of the school climate, to take stock of your human resources and other resources, including instructional resources. From there, it's to measure the impact of prior, and recent initiatives, interventions, programs, trainings, right? So what worked, what didn't work. Let's keep what works or what's worked in the past, excuse me, and then either eliminate, improve, or replace that which didn't work and hasn't been working. I want you to pay close attention when I get to the section on special ed, our special ed students and what we do for them. Sometimes you gotta stop and say, if we're doing that only because it's the way we've always done it, then that's a good place to start for making change, right? And so you'll see what I'm talking about when we get to the section on special education and intervention for special education and support for special education. Next, that the school plan for student achievement is written for the signatories, right? So for those who have to approve it. And that is incorrect, right? And that's probably why we're writing these, encyclopedias. 60 pagers, 70 pagers. It's it's $1 million. $1 million goes like this, and it should probably go on going deep into something that is good, that it's agreed upon, that everybody supports, than to, just a little bit for here, a little bit for there. You just disperse it amongst everybody. It has no impact. Better that we get good at one thing and throw all of our investment into that and have everybody come on board and see results, experience some mini successes, and now you've got, some professional learning community being born, than to assume that there's a professional learning community and just give little tidbits to everybody so that everybody is appeased but not really challenged to do any better. Okay, let's see. And then, right, so once you assess what's going on at your school with your resources, look at the impact of the past and what you've done in the past, that you then identify your lessons learned. Where could we have done better? Should we throw it away because it's a bad program, or try it again because we just didn't do a good job of implementing it last year? And then you can't have that discussion in the absence of your stakeholders, right? So, as I was saying, you don't write this plan for the people who sign off on it, because you know what? They're not even reading it. Like I said in a previous presentation, they're probably skimming it, scanning it, looking for, empty space, because it seems like the push here is to fill up every little space on this piece of paper, not so much fill up your mind with wisdom and some reflective thinking to analyze how you can do better. And so, right, so the idea is, the purpose of writing this is not so much to write it for the district. It's to write it for your teachers. It's to write it for the people that are going to actually do the work, right? And it's not going to be the school site council that does the work. It's the teachers. There's no way around it. That's why it has sections dedicated specifically to professional development, because the people who need to get better at doing what they do for the children are the teachers. It's not that they're bad people. It's not that they can't teach. We have a big problem. We have students with tremendous needs, and no one person has the answer. And so that in itself is the purpose of writing this, right? It's not just to do it in the back office all by yourself. It's about engaging your staff, showing them what the facts are, challenging them to reflect on their own practices, their behaviors, their thoughts, right? Because there are a lot of assumptions and misconceptions going on inside of all of our brains, and you have to draw them out so that truth be told, so that people know where everybody stands, what their securities and insecurities are, what their strengths and weaknesses are. All we see, even with people we've worked with for 10 years, is the mask. The data is supposed to help unearth what's behind the mask, right? Why did you fail everybody and this guy passed everybody? Why did you pass everybody? Did you challenge them enough? Why did you fail everybody? Did you challenge them too much, or do you just not like kids? Those conversations have to happen, and sometimes people got to go, all right? And sometimes programs got to go. And a fish usually stinks from the head down, all right? And so all these are questions that, before you even decide to mobilize in a certain direction with your plan, these are the conversations that you need to have. And screw the timeline that you're given for submitting your plan and evaluating it and looking at the data. It's better to be good than fast, right? And it's better to be lucky than good. So the point is, let's do this right. Okay, so I'm going to continue giving you more examples, or I'm going to start giving you examples of what self-deception looks like in real life so that you can avoid those landmines for yourself. Okay? Uh, the show will go on. If this doesn't discomfort you, then there's something wrong with you. Alrighty? You should be outraged at what? We should be outraged by the incompetence, the lack of effort. That's really what it, laziness. Let's call it what it is. Laziness. To only use two sources of data and have a million excuses why you can't have a third. You know, either you've already concluded ahead of time before doing all this engagement that you know what the right answer is, and 100% of the time we're all wrong when we do that, especially when we're dealing with 2,000 kids, 90 teachers, I don't know how many, administrative personnel we have on campus. You got the police, you got security, you got cafeteria staff, you got maintenance staff, you got construction staff. Nobody has the answer in their heads. And I'll say one last thing. When we go to meetings and I see people who don't have any evidence, any sign that they're taking notes, you're not taking this seriously. Okay? Unless you can prove you have a photographic memory, you should be taking notes. Okay? It sends a message to everybody else on the team, and it says something about you and what you think of yourself and what you think of everybody else. Alrighty? Okay. So, moving on to Chapter 2, Section 2, Examples of Self-Deception. See you at the end.